A big hello to all readers out there. I am Book Dragon Erin, and I am here to talk about a book tag video. I would like to give a big thank you to Carrie Hope Fletcher for her video on book tags of 2021, so I wanted to make a video of my own as well. I hope she doesn't mind that I used some of her tags. I am new at this, so I needed a mentor video and I chose hers. Go check out Carrie's BookTube channel because it is really cool, and I will leave a link in the description box below. All that said, let's dive right into the video. The beautiful tag, the most beautiful book covers in my collection. I have about 450 books in my bedroom alone, and that includes my bookish closet, which I renovated to have even more bookshelves inside. With that said, I have actually spent a few hours debating which book covers I like the most, and since I couldn't choose just one, I had to choose three. And those three include Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J. Maas, One Day in December by Josie Silver, and These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. With Kingdom of Ash, I love the artwork. Aylin is my spirit animal. I love everything about her, and I just have so much respect for Sarah J. Maas as an author that I couldn't not include one of her books in my video. And one of the cool things about this book cover art that I really think more books should have is inside cover art as well. Let me show you what I mean. First, Sarah J. Maas's autograph right here. This is embedded in the book itself along with Aylin's sword, so this book is already magical in its own way. And the second part of why I love this cover art so much, there is actually internal cover art within the cover. See? Front, back. This is exactly how I pictured Aylin Ash River Galathinius, and Rowan, oh my gosh, be still my heart, I love the brooding warrior type. And then there's Kale, who people either love or hate. And then Dorian, who is just perfect. And then Manon. I will have to say that Manon in reality looks a lot different than the fan art that I have seen online, and I really didn't picture Manon like this, so it was a little, okay then, that's how Sarah J. Maas sees it, alrighty then. Then, with One Day in December by Josie Silver, this is one of the books on my Book of the Month collection, and the cover art is just so unique in a way that's hard to explain, and to me, it tells a story without even using words. Like, the young woman is saying goodbye to her love from far away, and I haven't read this book yet, so I don't know the story here, but this is definitely a book that I will read one day in December. And then my third and final favorite cover art, we have These Violent Delights. This is another book in my Book of the Month collection, and roses and dragons with blades make an interesting and intriguing pair. Do you think that way too, or is that just me? Because I am totally drawn into this book and I love it so far. I have not finished reading it yet, but I plan to eventually. And now we have the smut tag, the steamiest romance novels you have in your collection. About this, I have a huge collection of smutty romance novels on my Kindle, but I am just doing paperbacks and hardcovers this time. The first dark romance smutty novel that I will list is Savage Vow by Zoe Blake. I am a huge fan of her work. I have the first two books in the Ivanov crime family series, and I cannot stop raving about them, and I do not plan to stop on raving about them anytime soon. I would have to say that Gregor Ivanov is the perfect dream man. I love him so much. If he proposed to me at a formal dinner at 6 p.m., we would be married by midnight because I love everything about him, from his intimidating stance to the stoic front, how he's the tough, impenetrable guy, but then he lets a girl get under his skin in more ways than one, and I loved the book so much. I have nothing bad to say about it, other than there aren't many books in the series. There's just a trilogy right now, but I wish there was more. Next, we have Blood Truth by J.R. Ward. This is a book that I won in a Goodreads giveaway in my first few months of being on Goodreads. I got this book and I was in love immediately. I have so many good things to say about this book, and I will be quite honest, I put the entire series on my Christmas list this year. I'm not saying which books I got, however, I'm just saying I am very happy right now. Moving on to the One Less Lonely Girl tag, which is a book that makes me feel less alone. There are several books that I can think of, however, I chose my top two. Losing the Field by Abby Glines, and The Lost Causes by Jessica Edding and Alyssa Schwartz. With Losing the Field, I felt less alone because I too have struggled with my weight throughout my teenage years up to now. My heaviest was 192 pounds, and that's a lot for someone who is only 5'3", because my average weight range should be between 130 to 135 pounds, and I am working out and trying to eat right, so I hope eventually I will get to my goal weight. With The Lost Causes, there were characters with many problems: bipolar disorder, mood swings, OCD, ADHD, ADD, etc., and gained strength after enhancing those weaknesses in positive ways with a unique plot. So the idea that I could gain strength from my own battle with bipolar disorder is absolutely thrilling to me. I love rereading this book, and I wish a movie was made of it just because it is so good. The imagery and the setting and basically all of the character development, it is perfect. Please, Jessica Edding and Alyssa Schwartz, write a sequel because I will buy it yesterday. And now moving on to the Never Shut Up tag, which is a book I don't ever seem to stop talking about. We have A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. Did you think that Kingdom of Ash was the only Sarah J. Maas book I would mention in this video? Absolutely not. This is another favorite Sarah J. Maas book. I loved every second of it, and I loved Nesta's character development tenfold. Come to think of it, I never actually shut up about the entire Court of Thorns and Roses series, but A Court of Silver Flames is the latest book in the series, and my brother can testify that I never seem to shut up about Sarah J. Maas, or any of her books or characters, or basically anything about her life, since I follow her on all forms of social media and I can't get enough of her work. I have reread the Court of Thorns and Roses series so many times, I can almost have it memorized, I guess. Continuing with a book and or book series that I can never shut up about, I also bring you the Field Party series by Abby Glines. We have Until Friday Night, Under the Lights, After the Game, Losing the Field, and Making a Play. I loved every single book in this series, especially After the Game, because I know I sound like a broken record here, but that book showed me that I can read books about high school without getting horrible flashbacks of my own high school experiences, and to me it felt emotionally life-changing. So thank you forever, Abby Glines. Your books have meant so much to me over the past few years that I have tried to buy almost every single book that she has ever written, and if I can't afford them, I borrow money from my brother and then I promise to pay him back. I need to get around to doing that finally. The next book topic that I shall talk about is Our Love is Forever tag, which is the moment in a book where two people realize that they are made for each other, and three books that come to mind are, of course, A Court of Silver Flames, After the Game by Abby Glines, and Princess of the Midnight Ball by Jessica Day George. With A Court of Silver Flames, yes, I am mentioning this book again, Nesta and Cassian belong together, and the moment their mating bond finally snapped into place was a moment that I almost cried because it was so beautiful, and I knew they were going to be together from the very start. I was like, okay, Nesta and Cassian are opposites, but they are also very similar, so I guess you could say they are two sides of the same coin, because heads and tails belong together, and yes, opposites attract. This is the best book that has that sort of theme going on that I cannot not mention this book. And with After the Game, the build-up romance between Brady Higgins and Riley Young was so beautiful, heartfelt, and real. So my thoughts were, when I first read this book, if there is a sequel, I am reading it. And the sequel was Losing the Field. I finished that in a matter of days. Then I moved on to reading Making a Play, but I have not finished that yet because I do not want the series to end whatsoever, because I would be miserable if I had nothing left to read of Abby Glyne's work, that I would just extend the reading time as far as I could until there is another book in the series. Then with Princess of the Midnight Ball, again, the slow build-up romance between Guard Galen and Princess Rose is lovely and sweet and so worth reading about. I just have to say that the moment I love best about their love is what happens at the end of book 3. I, of course, will not give any spoilers to what happens, but this series is so beautiful, so worth the read. It is a wonderful young adult fiction fairy tale retelling. Princess of the Midnight Ball is based off of The 12 Dancing Princesses, and Princess of Glass is based on a retelling of Cinderella, and Princess of the Silver Woods is based on a Red Riding Hood retelling, which I think is quite probably my favorite book in this entire trilogy. Moving on to the My Gay Child / Friend tag, which is a book where parents and or friends accept their LGBT plus friends or children. The first book that comes to mind is City of Glass by Cassandra Clare. In the Shadowhunter city of Idris, Alec Lightwood kisses Magnus Bane in front of his parents, and he doesn't care what happens. Then we have They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. To note, Rufus is bisexual and his ex-girlfriend still accepts him. And then we have other character Mateo, who is gay, and his best friend, who is a single mom, still accepts him. And in this book, which I highly recommend to basically everyone, Rufus and Mateo fall in love in one night, and they spend their last 24 hours together. And I wish there was a sequel, because I would love to find out what happens to Rufus at the end, just because there's a cliffhanger ending, sort of, or at least it was for me, and I thought this book was so good that I even wish there was a movie based on this book, because it is so worth reading, and I am surprised it is not even more wildly popular than it already is. Moving on to today's final topic, we have the Hopeful Kiddo tag, which is a character who is always hopeful against all odds. The first book that I am about to mention is 10 After Closing by Jessica Bayless. I think Winnie remains hopeful that her romance with Scott never ran out, and she always remains hopeful about her career in art finally taking off. I would love a sequel of this book, if only to see the bad guys suffer even more. This book was such an interesting read, and I do love raging on the bad guys because they're robbing a coffee shop. What is there that is more important than coffee? Yes, I get money is important, but they have free access to coffee in this book, and they decide to go after the real estate, not the coffee. Priorities, people. Priorities. Now moving on to Craven Manor by Darcy Coates before I go into another tirade about how 10 After Closing's plot was amusing to me. I think that Daniel remains hopeful that the gardens of Craven Manor will finally be beautiful again, and Bran, who I have a major literary crush on, and his little sister Annalise will have a content and peaceful rest of forever as long as they are living at Craven Manor. I will admit something about Bran. I loved Craven Manor so much that I decided to write a fan fiction about it, where Daniel has a little sister who is hard on luck and he decides to invite her to live with him for a little while as she heals. And then she meets Bran, and there is this romance going on between them that is so beautiful and so pure, and the character who is Daniel's sister befriends Annalise immediately, and there is just so much friendship and love going on in that fanfiction, and I really ran with it, let's just say that. And now for the final book, we have Glass by Ellen Hopkins. I loved the whole Crank trilogy, and in that series, there's Crank and Glass and Fallout. With Glass, Christina Snow, who is a drug addict of meth and smoker of cigarettes, is quite hopeful that her second pregnancy will bring her back to her quote-unquote normal self at the end of the book. No, things don't really necessarily work out for her like that, because her life gets infinitely more complicated and in some aspects worse. But there is a light at the end of the tunnel at the end of Fallout, which I thought was quite an interesting book. It was written in 3 different points of view, so it was a little hard to follow sometimes, but it was still so worth the read and a beautiful ending to the Crank trilogy. Anyway, that is all for today. So if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button to show some support, subscribe to my BookTube channel to get more videos like this, turn on those notifications to be notified when I have a brand new video uploaded. Keep on reading, Happy New Year, and have a great day, everyone!